Well, today was a driving day. Drove out of Utah, through a corner of Arizona and into Nevada, through Las Vegas, up into the Spring Mountains to find a campsite before I hike tomorrow. Found this nice spot down a long gravel road that has this hill up behind where I'm camping that just has absolutely ridiculously good views out down over the mountains to the north. There's looking out over the north into Nevada. And over into the west, the sun is setting. Tomorrow, I will be heading back east and a little bit south over to hike up Charleston Peak. Just been getting my overnight backpack ready. It'll be the first overnight hike of this trip. It was 115 degrees down in Las Vegas while I was down there today. When I got up here in the mountains above it, it was in the low 80s when I got up here, but it's probably down in the upper 60s now. It feels very nice. I was a little concerned it was going to be too hot to sleep in the car, but it is perfect right now. And absolutely beautiful up here. I'm just starting out on the South Loop Trail in the Spring Mountains, heading up to Mount Griffith and Mount Charleston. This is going to be a overnight hike, first one of the trip. So, I've got this huge heavy backpack. I've got about 5 liters of water, along with my tent and sleeping bag and cooking utensils. So it's pretty heavy, and this hike is going to be, I think it'll end up being around 18 miles with over a mile of elevation gain, which will be the most I've done on an overnight trip before with a heavy pack. So we'll see how it goes. I'm about 50 minutes into the hike, about a mile and a half. Just hit 1,000 feet of elevation gain so far. It looks absolutely beautiful up here. It looks like quite a ways up to the top still. There's a little bit of a cave in there. If I wasn't on such a long hike, I might go investigate whether it was possible to get up in there. I think it only goes back like 10 feet, if that. It has been quite warm. This pack felt unbelievably heavy when I first started, but I've gotten used to it. It's not as bad now. Made it up to the boundary of the Mount Charleston wilderness in the switchbacks. Just hit 1,500 feet of elevation gain in about 2 1/3 miles. So very steep pace. I'm on the final section of switchback on the way up to the saddle, and then the hardest part will be done. There's Griffith Peak over there. Once I make it up onto the saddle, should be a split in the trail. I'm either going to set up camp in that general area or just stash my backpack and then continue up Griffith with a much lighter load. I've got a smaller pack inside my pack to use to go up the mountain. I've come up a very long way from the valley floor down there. I've made it up onto the ridge. Griffith over that way. I'm going to continue on up and do that after a break. It's been 3 hours exactly almost. 4 1/3 miles. Exactly 3,000 feet of elevation gain. The trail splits here. Goes off left over to Griffith, right over to Charleston along the ridge for a long ways. Alright, had a very nice break. Set up my chair and sat down for a while. Trying to figure out what this thing is. I have no clue. For some reason it reminds me of a part of a bear trap, but I know that's not what it is. But I have no idea. But I just stashed my backpack back here. Have a little fold-up backpack with nothing in it other than a bottle of water, a bag of peanut butter filled pretzels, and some sunglasses, and my Garmin InReach. So I've got that, my GoPro, and my walking sticks, and that is all I'm bringing up with me. Doesn't look that bad from here. See how it actually ends up being, but it looks like it's going to be a fairly easy hike up to the top. Well, it took me 13 minutes to get up to the top. It was only 300 some feet of elevation gain. I just assumed I was looking up at a false summit, but no, it was the real summit. Someone left a shoe up here. I had read a description that someone wrote about hiking up to Charleston, and they said if you wanted to include Griffith as a side trip, you should add 1 to 2 hours. It took me 13 minutes to walk up here. So, not sure what they were talking about. Oh well, there's some very nice views up here. Out to the southwest. Can't tell if you can see far enough to see into California here. I bet you could probably see the Sierra Nevadas if it wasn't as hazy. But it might be too hazy to actually see over into California right now. But there is an excellent view over here down onto the city of Las Vegas. You can see all the skyscrapers down there and the urban sprawl out here. That Swift just went by so fast. There's the road I came in on. I came on across the path over behind the mountain here and came in on that road there. There's Mummy Mountain out over that way. It doesn't look as much like a mummy from here. When I was on the other side of it, when I came in and camped on the other side last night, it looked very mummy-like. And I think it'll look more mummy-like when we get closer to Charleston Peak, which is the one straight up there, way up in the distance, that still has a bunch of elevation left to get up to it. Just going to be following this trail along the ridge all the way up there. The elevation gain won't be as bad as getting up onto the saddle, but it's still got a bit left. I think it was 3,000 up onto the saddle, and I've got to do another 1,500 or so maybe 2,000 to get up there. I don't remember. You can see where the trail came up onto the saddle. That's where my bag got left down there. I believe it's about 4 miles from the saddle up to the top of Charleston. So instead of camping right at the saddle, that would leave me 4 miles out, 4 miles back, and then 4 miles from there back down to the trailhead tomorrow for about 12 and a half miles. I might go about a mile or so down along the ridge while it's relatively flat there and camp a mile or two down. We'll see. I've got a bunch of time and nothing else to do tonight besides read. There's the town of Mount Charleston down below. The hike started down on the edge of that town. For some reason, this has 2 ammo containers on sticks that I assume are going to have trail registers in them. I assume they need 2 because this gets climbed so often. I don't even understand how you have a trail register on a place like this. We're right next to Las Vegas. I'm sure there have been 20 people up here today. Is this thing the trail register? It's like a book. Or is this an actual book? What? What? Wait, this is Hebrew? Oh, what is this, like a Torah or something? No, this is way too big for a Torah. I don't remember how to read Hebrew. I remember you read right to left, and I remember the alphabet, but I don't remember any words anymore. Does it say what this is? I guess it'd be on the right, wouldn't it? Zohar. Is this like Kabbalah? What? There's a book of Kabbalah up here? I have never seen that before. I don't know who they're expecting to read this up at the top of the mountain. Is this the actual trail register? Yeah. Okay, yeah, this entire book goes back to 620 and is full. So this fills up every 2 weeks because so many people climb this. And I'm sure most people don't even sign it. I don't understand what the point of having a trail register up here is. They're only useful in places that don't get climbed often. Well, I'm going to hang out up here. I brought water and snacks because I expected this to take a while. But I'll sit down and look down on Las Vegas and eat some pretzels and then head back down and hike another mile or so and set up camp and then read something other than the Kabbalah. Well, I've only come down about half a mile from the trail junction, but this wind is getting very strong and the trail is about to start going up a lot. So I see the spot over on the side that looks like it has a little bit of windbreak built in. We're going to check it out and see if it looks good. This looks like a spot someone has camped before, so it should work. Yeah, it's got this nice little flat spot down here. Doesn't completely block the wind, but it'll block some of it. Way better than just being out in the open. I think this is going to be camp for the night. Well, this wind made it fairly difficult to get this tent set up, but I've got it all set up now. Got my sleeping bag and little inflatable mattress and everything all set up in there. It is about 4 o'clock. I'm not really hungry enough to eat yet, so I think I'm going to get my chair and go sit over by those trees and read a book for an hour or two before I make dinner. Got my tent set up back there, been up here a couple hours just reading. Got my chair set up over on this side. Got some water starting to boil. Oh, it's already boiling. That took like 30 seconds. I'm going to be making some chicken Alfredo pasta, which I have not tried this brand before, so we'll see how it is. But there's surprisingly good sauce. I've been waiting for the sun to go behind the mountain over here, hoping it would do this. Look at those colors out there. And the haze is not great during the day when you're trying to see, but in the sunrises and the sunsets, the haze makes it way more colorful. It is just pink hues and orange out everywhere out here. That wind has gotten quite chilly though. I'm very glad I brought my heavy down sleeping bag. Definitely going to want that tonight. The temperature is not that cold out here. It's probably 65 right now, but that wind is freezing. So in the tent, it won't be as bad. But it will keep getting colder, so it'll probably get down in the low 50s tonight. I think I'm going to go back and grab my chair and sit out here and watch the colors. The sun doesn't actually set for a while still. This is really early for this to be starting. Good morning. Just finished eating some oatmeal for breakfast. Leaving my tent and everything set up here. Just put what I need in my pack and heading back out on the trail. Took a little while to get to sleep last night because it was so windy, but the wind died down before too long, and it is completely dead calm now. I had my phone plugged into a battery bank to charge it, and apparently it immediately came unplugged and did not charge and was dead when I woke up in the morning. I had an alarm set up to go off at 6 a.m. and I woke up at 6:20 to a dead phone. So I've got it charging in my pocket, but now it means I have to carry the battery bank all the way up here so it can be charging the whole time. It's a very exposed section of hike. Glad it's still only 8 a.m. It's fairly warm even now, so this would be pretty miserable later in the day, I think. And from here, we finally get a full view of the mummy. You couldn't see the head from that side of the mountain over there. Now this is one of the more interesting things on this hike. The metal up here and down on the side is the wreckage of a plane crash in 1955. It was a secret government plane that was flying from Burbank, California to the Groom Lake government facility, which is now called Area 51. And they were working on a secret project, the U-2 spy plane, out at what is now Area 51. And it was some scientists and engineers and workers, 14 of them, being transported from California out to Area 51. And they were flying below the radar with their radio equipment off to maintain secrecy. And a storm came up and they lost track of where they were and crashed into the side of Mount Charleston. And of course, the government wanted to get up here as soon as possible, but it was in the winter and there was a ton of snow and they couldn't get up here for a while. They tried to parachute people in, but they couldn't. And then they tried to have, I think, the army come in on snowshoes, but they couldn't get up here. And eventually, I think a local ranger team made it up along with some government agents. And they were able to get up here and they took out all the dead bodies. And then the government agents made the local rangers stay behind while they blew up the plane with dynamite to prevent any classified information from being found. I thought that part of the story sounded made up, and it was not in any of the official accounts of the story that I saw. But I did some digging and was able to find an old archived newspaper from the time that had a picture of the plane being blown up with dynamite. So apparently that did actually happen. And of course it was all classified, so no one knew what this plane was or what had happened. And even the families of the people that died in the plane didn't know anything until it was finally declassified. I want to say around 2000 or so. And still up here on the side of the mountain is the remainder of the wreckage. I think when they finally declassified it, they built a memorial somewhere. I don't know where it is. I don't know if it's nearby or not. But they hauled the propeller down and attached it to the memorial. But pretty much everything else is still up here in its exploded state. This is so weird. Well, that is not something you see on a hike very often. I'm sure there's pieces scattered all over down below down there too. But I am going to make my way back to the main trail and keep going on up Charleston. Wonder what this big piece on the end is. Wonder if that's part of the landing gear. I don't know enough about planes to tell. No idea. And there's just little pieces all over up here still. From 1955. So it has been sitting up here for over 70 years. Well, I've made it up to the summit of Mount Charleston. 11,916 feet. It was, including the diversion off to Griffith Peak, 10.95 miles with 4,750 feet of elevation gain. So less than I thought. I thought it was going to be a full mile. But I very much overestimated how much elevation gain was involved in Griffith over there. Nice view of the Mummy and Mount Charleston down below. Griffith over in the distance. The long trail I came in. California out in the distance over that way. And Pahrump, the town down below. No wind at all up here. And it's pretty warm. It's a nice little wind shelter built down here, but I don't need to use it today. Well, I'm going to sit down and take a break and then head on back down. Got a long hike out. I gotta stop and pack up my tent and all that stuff and pack it up on the way. Well, I've made it back the 4.5-ish miles from the summit to my camp. Somehow did not see a single person on the trail, which is very surprising. There were, all right, all packed up. Had a couple tuna wraps for lunch. It's about 11:30 now. Should be 2.5-ish, 3 hours to get back down, something like that. Well, I just realized that apparently my GPS did not like my phone turning off overnight, even though I resumed the track. It has stopped adding elevation gain. It did a little bit after I started today, but it has not added any in quite a while, and I've definitely been going up. So apparently it has not been accurately tracking how much elevation gain I've been doing. I went and looked at a track somebody else had done for this pretty much exact route, just going up on Griffith and then over to Charleston, and theirs was 5,400 feet of elevation gain. So I was right, it was more than a mile of elevation gain. Mine just stopped adding it. I'm just about back to the trailhead. This is a very long and strenuous hike, especially with the very heavy pack. This has reminded me why I don't do overnight hikes unless I absolutely have to. My GPS recording stopped working, but someone else who did the exact same hike measured it at 18.4 miles with 5,500 feet of elevation gain. So a little over a mile. Mine would have been overall a little bit longer because I wandered around up at the top while I was camping up there, but in the general vicinity of 20 miles, 5,500 feet of gain. So quite long. I am very much looking forward to air conditioning. It is very hot.